Today is, you may not know this, today is the 59th anniversary of the JFK assassination. That was, of course, November 22nd, 1963 in Dallas. Walter Cronkite famously broke the news to the country.
From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, some 38 minutes ago.
So that was nearly 60 years ago. Every person involved in it, including Walter Cronkite, is long dead. And yet, there are more than 15,000 documents related to the JFK assassination that remain hidden tonight by the federal government. What is that? You don't have to be a conspiracy nut to ask why. Why is the Biden administration still blocking the release of these files? They need to do classification review after 60 years. So the deadline to release them is just 2 weeks away. It's December 15th. Gerald Posner has written an exhaustive book on this topic, the Kennedy assassination. He's written many other books. He joins us tonight. Joe, thanks so much for coming on. So,
good to be with you.
Why now? You wrote a book saying you believe essentially the Warren Commission was pretty accurate in its description. You're deeply versed in the story. Why in the world would they be holding on to 15,000 JFK documents 60 years later?
You know, well, first of all, Tucker, and you know this very well, it's the way intelligence agencies operate. So 70% of those documents belong to the CIA. The rest of the FBI, some of the DEA, they claim that they would disclose sources, kids who were in their 20s who were CIA assets back in the 60s, and then they're now in their 80s. It would disclose, in some cases, safe houses. Believe it or not, they say they're using the same safe houses in some countries. The DEA doesn't want the names disclosed of confidential informants on big drug cases, and that would, wants to be examined because was the mob involved in killing Kennedy. So there are all types of reasons. But the real thing is what you said a moment ago, that Biden will make a decision in December. He made a decision in January that didn't release them, and Trump had an opportunity to get these out in 2017 and passed on them as well. And so the intelligence agencies, the apparatus, they work very, very well to make their argument to the people in power. We need a little bit more time, and this is absolutely crazy. 59 years. It's time for these files to be released in their entirety so researchers, historians, others, and the American people can see what's been so important to keep hidden.
You got to wonder about motive here. I mean, either the intel agencies were involved in Kennedy's killing, or they want you to think they were involved in Kennedy's killing, because why else would they do this?
Well, one of the things is that, there's a real question as to whether the CIA, the assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald, guess where he was? He wasn't in Dallas 3 weeks before the assassination. He was in Mexico City trying to get to Cuba, where he thought the real revolution was taking place. He had defected to the Soviet Union. He thought, oh, the Russians, they ruined communism. I'm going to where the real deal is. That's in Havana. And he got turned down in Mexico City. So he comes back to America. And the question is whether the CIA, who was spying on the Cuban and the Soviet missions in Mexico City, whether they had tape recordings or pictures of Oswald, whether they heard him boast that he might actually try to do something against the president. That's been reported in the Cuban mission. And then when Oswald came back into the U.S. in early October, they didn't tell anyone. The CIA kept it a secret. They didn't tell the FBI. That would be very embarrassing and damning for them. Wouldn't be surprising. Remember, this is the agency, the CIA, that missed the Bay of Pigs. They missed the Tet Offensive. They missed what was going on in the Yom Kippur War in Israel. Then they missed the fact that the Iran is about to fall to the Ayatollah. They thought it was safe. They didn't know the Soviet Union was going to invade Afghanistan. They didn't know the Soviet Union was about to fall in 1991. They missed 9/11, and then they got it wrong in Iraq in 2003 about weapons of mass destruction. So why are we not surprised that they might get something wrong here on the assassination of a president in 1963 and not want us to know about it?
Let's send them billions more on the black budget and let them interfere in our elections. That seems like
the black budget's only $56 billion right now, most of which we don't know what it goes for. It's the largest segment of money in the United States budget that's given away to a group, and they sort of decide how they're going to use it without any oversight. Seems pretty scary to me.
Doesn't sound like a democracy to me. Joe, thank you so much. Great to see you tonight.
Thanks, Tucker.
Speaking of secrets, the